Okay. All right. So we are recording. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Hey guys, I'm Samantha Conner with the Boutique Hub. We've got a great guest speakers here today. We're going to be diving into the fun world of development and all the challenges that wholesalers encounter. The best thing that you can do is find a partner to be on your side to help you overcome those challenges. So if you were in Dallas last month, you may have met the Axll team. If not, you're lucky we've got them here live today. They're going to be going through some of the most common headaches and pain points for wholesalers, and then describing the solutions and things they've found that make life easier so that you can find more peace and more profit in your business. So, as we go along today, feel free to drop questions in the chat. We'll be monitoring those. And then, of course, we'll be sharing the contact information for the Axll team for both Corey and Zach after the call. But we'll go ahead and get started. So excited you guys are here. Thanks for being on.
Thanks so much for having us. It was great to meet you in person in Dallas a couple of weeks ago. We were really excited by the conversations that we had there, and excited to be on with everybody today. My name's Corey. I'm with Axll. I have Zach Newman, our founder, on with us as well. We are a software company started in Nashville, kind of grown up through relationships in retail. Who we are today is kind of based on the feedback from customers. So what's been really fun is spending more time with both stores and brands, kind of learning what it is that eats up your day as it relates to like data entry, data movement, systems, and processes. So what I thought we would do today is, rather than a complete pitch or infomercial on Axll, we're going to try to spice it up just a little bit with a bit of a role play. So I'm going to assume the role of a employee at one of the wholesale companies that we have talked to, and I'm going to try to capture as many of the problems that we have heard from you all in the conversations that we've had. And I will be a radio caller or a podcast guest, but Zach is our expert. So this will be a combination of best practices that you could deploy today, things that you could maybe take to your development team or somebody who works with you at the shop, or if you need a partner, some of this stuff is something we'd be happy to help implement for you as well. So with that, I think we'll kick it off, and I'll ask the first question. So Zach, I'm a brand rep. I'm very involved in like the customer service side of things. I like to give my retail clients a really good experience, but I seem to spend my days reformatting CSV files for product uploads that go into a lot of the live selling apps that our stores like to use. It doesn't talk to Shopify on its own, and it really takes forever. So I was hoping that you might have an idea or a thought or a suggestion on how I can get some time back in my day, because at this point, I'm a very highly paid CSV reformatter.
Yeah. So that's something we've done a lot of. And what I mean by that is, since the early days, a big chief complaint has been, X doesn't talk to Y, or my e-com system doesn't talk to my point of sale, or my point of sale doesn't talk to my website doesn't talk to Facebook. We've loved those scenarios, and we love building that bridge between those two systems that don't natively talk. And so in this scenario, what we would do is we would, start with the work you've already done. You're already doing this manual data translation and CSV creation process. So we would take the CSV that you're already creating, and we would treat that as our template, knowing that like, hey, this is what it needs to look like. This is what works. This is what uploads, properly into your live selling app. So that's kind of step one. Step two is where we get to be a little more creative and kind of sink our claws into the dev side of things. So what we would do, and what often works well, is utilizing Shopify tags. So we would set up a trigger on any order or draft order. So if you've put a bunch of products into a cart or a draft order for a customer, and those are the products that they need to be able to upload into their live selling app. We would just, add the tag live selling or whatever tag you want it to be to that order. And then that would kick off an automation on our end that would pull all of the products in that draft order or just normal order, um, put them into a CSV that's formatted the way we know it needs to be formatted. And then we would kick off an email with that CSV, to the contact that's on that order. So your customer is going to receive an email that's with a CSV that's formatted for their live selling app with all the products in that order. It's going to just send automatically. So you're going from like creating these spreadsheets, doing your Shopify export, translating to comment sold, column headers to just tagging an order. And then our system takes over from there and sends out the email and the nicely formatted spreadsheet. And if comment sold changes something or you need to add a column, with some additional information, the beauty of us being, you know, humans here in the US doing this work is we're available to make those updates for you. So you're not stuck with like a, you know, stuck in time version of this service. How's that
That's
sound,
great.
Mr.
That sounds really good. Because I do this, I do this every day. And I'm not exaggerating that I've seen folks brought to tears by this exact process. So knowing there's a way to implement a automation here is really exciting. So thank you. All
Yeah,
right.
good to know.
Anything else?
And then one other thing, just I like to point out the edge cases because life typically isn't clean and tidy. Let's say that you realize, oh, I forgot to add a product set to this order and I need it to go back out. Again, we can customize these workflows so that all you have to do is, you know, toggle that tag off and then back on and then the email resend. So again, we like to pride ourselves on being flexible and being able to, work in real world conditions.
Very nice. All right, caller number two. Hey, Zach, longtime listener, first time caller. I run a growing retail and wholesale business. We've seen triple digit growth over the last year, so things are going great. If we're going to have problems, these are good problems to have. But I am getting bogged down by manually balancing my catalog and my inventory and my prices across multiple platforms. So I sell on a retail page, I sell on my wholesale page, I sell on Etsy, I sell on Fair, there's others. How can I get this automated so that I am not the barrier to our company's growth? Because right now I'm the spider web holding all of these systems together.
Yeah, that's it's a good problem to have, as you're growing and seeing the impacts of that growth and trying to scale. So in this case, what we like to do is we like to start off with some good old data hygiene, right? So if we want these platforms to talk to each other, we need them to speak the same language. So we need a common denominator from Fair and Etsy and Shopify, and we need, you know, products to not be orphaned on a given platform. So typically for starters, we'll do some good old bulk exports out of all these platforms. That's work that we're doing. We're not putting that on your plate. From there, we're running some analysis on those exports to identify the products or SKUs that are seemingly, isolated on those systems. So, the world you don't want is having a product on Fair or Etsy or Wayfair, wherever you have it listed, and that product not be linked back to a source of truth, and then you sell through that product, but the inventory isn't updating, or you restock that product and that restock doesn't push through to your channel. And so we want to go through, find those SKUs, and we will tee up for you, a list of products that need attention and need your touch of like, oh yeah, this product actually, you know, this is like an old version of this SKU. It needs to be archived or this needs to be updated. You can tell us the changes that need to be made, and we will actually go in and we can make those updates for you. So you're not going through and clicking on 100 SKUs and adding, you know, an additional prefix to make everything match. So once we get everything synced up and unified across all of these channels, that comes at that point we're ready to set up some automation. So whenever we can use like a native automation, so or a native connector, like Fair obviously talks to Shopify, we will utilize those native connections and integrations. But you know, again, like we talked about with the last caller, life isn't always perfect and clean cut, and any exceptions you have, like let's say maybe you want to use Fair for the order syncing, but you need custom product syncing rules in place because the out of the box connector with Fair, you know, messes things up whenever you push like a bundle over into Fair or like a 4-pack or things just aren't translating properly. We can be the custom translation on the products and then have the orders sync or vice versa. Um, but at that point, we start working with you to go channel by channel to get the two systems to, you know, speak the way you need them to speak.
That's helpful. Yeah, as we've grown, a lot of this has just been how I'm trying to keep up, and stopping to make sure that those systems and those processes exist hasn't been something that we've really done. So the blocking and tackling and the hygiene of making sure our data is all uniform is a really good suggestion.
Yeah, yeah. It's like the, you know, TLC uh organizational shows, you know, they don't start out just putting things in bins and organizing, you know, right out of the box. Typically, there's a cleanup effort to kind of establish your baseline, then get going on your systems. And we've seen that work really well to clean up, then build the automations to maintain at that point.
Very good. Let's take our next caller. Um, hey, Zach, thanks for taking my call. I run a popular jewelry and handbag brand. We have two warehouses in two different states that hold different types of inventory. To further complicate things, I sound like your last caller, where we also have retail and wholesale. Where I struggle is orders that come in online need to get processed to one warehouse. Orders from another line need to be processed at the other. Right now, all of the orders come into a central location, which happens to be at neither warehouse. We then manually field those orders out based on what the order was. Again, I'm a, you know, I feel like a cartoon where I'm like sorting the mail in the back. But like, how can I get out of the way so that I can do more cool stuff, and not be the one slowing down the process?
Yeah. No, you do sound a lot like our other callers. All of our callers have sounded pretty similar today. Um, but yeah, yours is another fun scenario that we like to work through. So this is kind of like the I need to clone myself scenario. Um, this one differs from some of the other ones where, you know, other uh growth impediments are more like a broken or non-existent system. This is one where it sounds like you have the system in place, but there's only one of you and only a, you know, limited amount of time. So what we will often do, you know, when we come across something like this is we will map out in as much detail what your current process is. So, you know, which orders are you sending to warehouse A versus warehouse B? What kind of like logic and rules do you use for, you know, if certain products are included? If like something's like customizable, you know, how does that impact your workflow? And then everything that we can like distilled down into, a step-by-step process, we can then take that and build it into a fully automated system. So these are selfishly kind of fun situations for us to take on because you've already done the work of figuring out what needs to be done. We are just then programming it. You're like the designer who's already designed the house and you have it all specced out, and we are the builder. Um, but in this situation, with Shopify and their, APIs and uh, integration, openness, pretty much anything that you are doing, we can automate in that sense. So we can, send these orders via email. If they need to have a certain attachment, we can attach, certain files. If you need packing slips, included that can be printed right off the, email, we can do that. If you need them pushed into a, separate system altogether, we can do that. So um again, we worked with some obscure platforms, kind of linking old school technology to Shopify. Um, yeah, anything that you are already doing, outside of physical in-store actions. Obviously, we can't ship out a robot to pack products and mail it out, which, who knows what's going to happen at this point. But outside of that, anything you are doing on your computer, um, we can typically distill that into an automated process that's custom for you.
That would be great because I would love to put more time into sales and marketing, as well as making sure that I'm staying up to date with customers that should be reordering with me. Um, so that's good to know. You want to take our fourth caller?
Yeah, let's take our fourth caller.
I was warned at some point in my career to not do accents or impressions. So I'm afraid that we're gonna have
Well,
more of the same.
let's get to know
Um,
everybody in this call a little bit more before we introduce
yeah,
any.
yeah, 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 yeah. Next time we'll have something ready for the next one. Um, okay, so Zach, I run operations for a growing apparel brand. I sell products on my retail site using a SKU that's tied to a single product. I sell the same product in a 4-pack on my wholesale site that has a different SKU attached to it. Um, I spend a lot of time managing these SKUs back and forth to make sure that my inventory and my shipping systems are all properly accounting for what's in stock. It makes it really time consuming to, one, make sure I'm sending everything I need to be sending, but then also looking in the rearview mirror to make sure I have everything I'm supposed to have. How can I go about streamlining these, sort of two different jungles that I'm operating in?
Yeah, yeah. That this ties back to an earlier caller and something we talked about with, you know, data hygiene and making sure our SKUs match up across platforms and even across like different Shopify storefronts. If you have that source of truth for your inventory, you want to make sure that if you sell one unit on one platform, that it decrements, on your source of truth. And that becomes more difficult when your, SKU stock keeping unit is uh, differing, from platform to platform for the same product. So we like to, again, try to like maintain that SKU or ID across each system that you're on. Um, Again, something cool about Shopify is everything is pretty customizable when you dig into it, down to your website code. So this is a scenario where, you know, technically, like you could do some of this stuff yourself with making it so a single SKU, um, has to be purchased in packs of four, and you can do a lot of this stuff like without an app or another service plugged in. And the way you do this, let me see if I can share my screen here, again, I'm not trying to pretend that you should know how to code and develop and dig into your Shopify uh, liquid code. Samantha, would I be able to? Here we go. But it's doable, which I think is good to know for, a partner you're working with. We will often make updates like this for stores based on, again, their specific needs. Is this screen share coming through?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm at
So
your
if
store.
you
Yeah.
log in, let's say this is our dev store we have, so excuse the product that we're dealing with, not typically something you would buy in a four pack, but let's say you did need to sell your snowboard in a four pack, and you wanted to do it without duplicating it and having some like awkward process where you have like a SKU that's, you're adding like four pack onto it, but now we have that like mismatch. You want to just keep this product as it is so that it's, the same across all your platforms. What you can do is you can go into you can go into your theme, and update it to, behave differently to, where the page will take certain actions depending on different triggers. And so that's very kind of cryptic language, but let's say we want to make it so any product with the tag four pack, require has to be purchased in a four pack. uh, as is, like this product page, clearly you can buy it in units of one, two, three, four, five, whatever you want. There's nothing here that like requires a certain amount to be purchased. Rounding this out, going back to your theme and the customization of your website, you can go to your online channel. You can actually edit the code within your theme. So you click this edit code button that will open up a window that looks a lot like this. Again, this is something that probably in most cases, you'll want to lean on a partner to do, but I'm here in the main product, code base. You can make updates to this code base. So here I kind of have something prepared already to where I'm going to flip this section to one that is now going to require uh, a four pack to be purchased. So I just flip this. What this section is saying is it's effectively, now checking the tags of a given product and then going to now require that it be sold in a pack of, and then whatever quantity is set on that tag. So if we go back to our product page, refresh the page, now, this can only be sold in a pack of four. So this is something that's not requiring additional app or third-party plugin to make this possible. Nothing about my like SKU or barcode or anything on this product page has changed. Um, I now just have the ability to control, if there's like a minimum threshold or a pack quantity that, must be adhered to for this product. So I like to show this just to, emphasize that although like Shopify themes are often plug and play, that if you have a good partner or resource, like you can customize them and make them, suit your needs without having to, overhaul or plug in some app that now requires a additional monthly fee. And yeah, you can make all of this really work for you. And again, I think the most important thing is like we can do this without having to duplicate this product and create like a fake synthetic SKU that represents, another SKU, and now all of a sudden we have an inventory nightmare. Um, so yeah, pretty cool stuff. What do you
That's
think
great.
about that
I
call?
before I was pivot tabling, combining two different SKUs into one, other column in my spreadsheet to see where inventory sat. So for me to be able to sell a single item to one customer and a pack to another without changing anything is pretty great. I'm glad
Awesome.
we were recording that to be able to copy that code. And we'll get
Yeah.
it to the person who knows what to do with it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Um, I'm just checking the time. Let's see. All right. Um, we got a kind of a fun one for you. Let's
And
see.
maybe after this, if we want to, if there are any other real people, not that you're not real caller, but any other questions, happy to field the field if there are any, or curiosities about kind of more of who we are and what we do.
I'll sit on that for a second, see if anything pops up.
I'll take a turn.
Go for it.
Yes, yeah. I'll change the voice of the caller. Um, so when you guys were in Dallas, it was interesting to meet with you because we've talked about there's so many development needs, like there's so many tech needs in the wholesale world. And the thing that I always hear from people is I don't have enough money to invest in development. I don't have enough money to have a whole dev team. But that's where I think it's so interesting with Axll because you guys are fractional. So it's like hiring this expert to come in, make these solutions, fix these things, find these problems, maybe problems you didn't even know you had. But then they don't sit forever on your payroll.
Mm.
And then that frees up, right? That ability to make more money when they have other issues or you see other ways for them to be efficient, they can hire you back in. I'm going to call out Jess from Siskis was one because she came in the showroom and kind of felt stressed out about the CSV files. And you were like, oh, we can help with that. And then we had a retailer come in and she's like, oh, yeah, they came in and helped me with my Shopify forever. And she went on what they did. So I was like, I just think that's so interesting because just a consultation with the Axll team. Like you may not even know what it is you need help with, but you just
Mhm.
know there's several sticky points. What is I'd say one of the most common problems, um, retail or wholesale, because a lot of our wholesalers are also retailing, that you'd say this is the number one thing people are picking up the phone and calling Axll for?
I'll give you mine, then I'll let Zach go. The 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 common issue is that there's a person who is moving information between two systems. So like there
Mhm.
is manual work being done on digital systems. So like if you're going to move shirts from the front to the back, a person has to do that. But like you don't have to have the computer like manually move information from one system to the other. So what's interesting about what you said like earlier is that most of the folks we're working with didn't even think that they didn't consider these problems until we called them. Like no one thought that you could stick AI inside of Shopify to automatically tag products or add a 4-pack that makes your inventory counting easier. So, um, it's not like the sole of my shoe broke off and I need new shoes. Like there's no obvious problem, especially as these companies have just grown so quickly and organically that they never stop to even think about like, oh shoot, we're like a few $1 million, we're a multi-million-dollar company at this point. Let's not do things the way that we did when we were a single $1 million company. So it's even thinking that the situation you found yourself in is a problem is kind of like the first thing that we're working through here.
Yeah.
But it's the manual nature of it.
Yeah. With AI, I mean, that's like the hot topic, right? I feel like we can get anybody to listen if we're like, we're going to be talking about AI, then everybody's head kind of snaps over. But then it's like, well, we don't really know what to do with it besides using it to help answer emails. Well, there's a lot of other things it can do. So what are some of those hot button like things that you guys are using AI for that most people probably aren't even considering? I know you mentioned Shopify. What are some other like cool things AI can do to make our lives easier besides generate copy for emails?
Yeah. Uh, it's really good at, so a lot of people use it to like create content, right? To like you said, write draft emails or write product descriptions. And I think that another like those are all fun and useful uh use cases. Another way that we utilize it that maybe it does get proper attention, but I don't know that I hear it talked about quite as much, is just like decision making, right? So like you've done all of this like manual work for years. Like let's take a simple example of like collections. Maybe you have, you know, a set of like 20 collections, existing collections that you've created. Something that like AI is really good at, because it would be pretty simple for a human to do it. Like anything that's like a competent college intern could do, who like, you know, can think, but maybe they don't have like super in-depth industry knowledge. Like those are the tasks that are like perfect for AI. So let's say like you want to like keep a bestseller collection fresh, or like a new arrivals collection like fresh with the most relevant products, and you want just the in-stock products to be like at the top, right? Like a human could look at, okay, here are all the products that we've received in the past 30 days, or here are the products that are selling well, or maybe it's a spring collection, like, you know, here are our dresses and like, you know, spring apparel. I'm going to add these to their respective collections. Like that's something that AI is great at, where we will set up a system where it will pull all of the collections that exist as of today. It'll pull all of your products with inventory, and then it'll start like analyzing and saying like, okay, for these in stock products, like, does this product apply to any of these 20 manual collections? You know, if so, add it. If not, don't do anything. And that's like a pretty specific task that it's great at, and makes like a big difference to like no longer have to deal with collections that you open it up and it's like a bunch of out of stock products, or like, you know, you don't have to carry that looming like, oh, I need to like update our best sellers or new arrivals, or like, you know, here and now collection. You can just have those things like updating continuously, and then you can still be in control of like, if you create and activate a collection for, you know, swimwear as we head into summer, and just like create that collection, then it becomes another eligible collection for, you know, your background worker to like start pumping products into it. So that kind of like decision making, like, you know, a category, product type assignment, tag assignment, like all of those same things apply. Like the product category, the Google shopping category, like anytime you just like, you have this kind of like defined list of options to choose from, and you need someone to like just click the box, like AI is a really good, does a great job at like clicking the box and making those assignments.
Well, yeah, and then to take it a step further, I even think of like people are like, okay, that sounds amazing. What else can it do? That's where you guys come in. You can look across their company, across their projects, their systems and processes, and say, this one should be streamlined, this one should be streamlined, this one should be streamlined. AI can do this one. This needs something built, and can make those decisions. But you're right. We get into the habit of like, I've just always lived this way. I thought this was just how it had to
Yeah.
be. Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's stuff that like you don't necessarily need AI for. Like if you want to take, you know, you've sold through all of your size runs and you want to take the product down, but you want to make sure there's like a 404 redirect in case that product has been cached somewhere online.
Mhm.
Like that doesn't need AI. That's just like a pure play automation that we can set up, that's just gonna like look and see if you're out of stock. It's gonna set that item to a draft or archive, and then create a redirect for that handle, you know, and those things make an impact, and can be, you know, set like any kind of automation is, you know, great for helping businesses grow and scale.
Yeah, for sure. What about, I know we've got a couple of wholesalers on this actual inside the Zoom. Ellen, Rebecca, if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them. For people that are just, Ellen, I know you've recently ventured into wholesale markets and kind of getting out there, building your brand. What are some, oh, Rebecca, you just unmuted. I'll let you go ahead and chat. Maybe. Okay. Well, let me know if anything. But for somebody that's just starting out, kind of in the beginnings of their wholesale business, what are some things you guys would suggest, or just some are like, hey, if I was just getting going, here's something I would start with. What are some of those easy, like
Mm,
low-hanging fruits, or common headaches for people starting out on their wholesale journey?
I would say one thing that surprises me is the I won't just come across as too harsh, but like there sometimes seems to be like a lack of concern about the way that retailers talk about products from brands. That some brands even make it difficult to find information about their products for the retailer to be able to sell it on their site. Um, so I think like to the extent that like content, pictures, and descriptions are available to share with a retailer, we all know that like that social proof is necessary to sell online. So to the ability that you can like empower your retail customer to sell your products and merchandise is, I think, super powerful. Like I, I, I think everybody likes to work with people who are easy to work with. And the times when like I want to be like, do you understand like how your product is being described on these other websites? Because I don't think you would like it if you saw it. So um, finding a way to like get that brand image over to your customers would be a big one for me. You're
Oh,
muted.
I am muted.
Yeah.
That's also something I need development help with. Uh, we need AI. No, but I would say that is a big one because you're right. We feel like it's obvious on our end, and then we're like, oh, we've basically locked the door, and we didn't realize that. Rebecca, I'm going to call on you one more time because I saw you unmute, then you muted. Anything you want to chat about? You're unmuted, but I still can't hear you. Okay, drop it in the chat if you've got it. Drop it in the chat if you've got it. All right. Phoebe, any questions from you? If not, I can keep talking forever.
I am kind of curious with like social media and everything, where do you guys come into play with that? Is there a way that you can simplify um, some of those tasks and just overall responses or things like that?
Yeah, one of the ways we have gotten involved with social media has been more on like the back end catalog side of things. So, platforms like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, like they all have their own set of like requirements for, getting products to show up in those shops.
Mm.
And so, we'll do things like in any kind of like data manipulation that needs to happen, as a product is pushed into any of those platforms. And that could be everything from like, you know, Facebook, for example, has a rule to where like if the product description is just set to the product title, like it won't show up. So we can put like a layer in to like differentiate the description, as it's pushed into Facebook. Or if a store wants to like hard code or set some sort of like inventory adjustment, when they push into, TikTok shop, like we can make that like adjustment in the connection between Shopify or Lightspeed or whatever platform and those selling channels. So it is a lot of like the similar principles of like data enrichment and automating, anything so that like a lot of times like it's not a problem on Shopify, but like that same having a field set to whatever it's set to, like then creates a problem on these other platforms. That's more of where we get involved on the like brand awareness and voice of the brand and like, customer engagement, the more like creative side. Like, we're doing a lot of the like boring behind the scenes, like boring but important but boring, like data entry. And we are often leaving the like creative, brand growth side to the experts on that piece.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Corey, I would echo Corey's, like Corey brought up a great point about just like doing whatever you can to like enable retailers and sellers to like be successful in making sure that it's like easy for them to find high quality images and descriptions and product titles, and even like reaching out. We work with some bigger brands and we work with bigger retailers who sell the bigger brands. And like, I mean, LL Bean and Yakima and all these like on cloud. I mean, they are like some of the letters and notices that they are sending to their stores who aren't maintaining like brand expectations are pretty intense. And it's not like you don't want to become like a taskmaster, like disciplinary figure, but there is probably something to say about like the level of seriousness with which these bigger brands, you know, hold their retailers to, or the level of quality they hold them to, I think is like, worth taking note of.
All right. I don't see any other questions in the group. Ellen, if you have any, be sure to unmute and ask away.
And we're here, we love talking to brands and like, um, you know, if it's a 30-minute call and then there's nothing that comes of it, then that's totally fine. We also like love to start small. Like if there's like a micro problem you're looking to solve, like it doesn't have to be some big, we often will get to like a pricing discussion and we see people kind of like white knuckle, bracing for what we're about to say. And like, again, it's, I think that historically, like working with the developer, someone to build something custom for you, you get some like scary big numbers, and we've structured things to not have to be that. So we want to be accessible and be able to like provide value and have you feel confident about working with us because there's value that matches, the cost of what we're doing.
Hey, this is Ellen, and I just want to say thank you so much for all this info. I'm so new at this that I don't even know what questions I need to ask, so I'll probably go back and rewatch the recording and look and see what all I need. But right now I'm really small, so doing things manually is fine. Um, but anyway, thank you so much for all this info.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Great to meet
Thank
you.
you. Yeah.
Well, and that manual piece, like we said, when you're being small, you're only small as you are today. And so some of this sometimes too is having those contacts and as you grow, reaching out, or if just, like that question piece of like, is there a way to streamline this? Because a lot of our wholesalers are very high paid data entry people, and that doesn't have to be that way. Doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I can relate to that. And
Yeah.
I'm off camera because I got a new warehouse, which is a giant shed that I'm painting. So I'm kind of painting and listening. So
Good for you.
Well, you'll have to keep us posted. We need to see a after photo once you get all that done. All right. Well, I'm saying if you have another caller, Corey, we can take it or we can wrap up here. It's up to you guys.
I think I feel like we fielded a good number of Corey personas. Next time we'll see if we can start to blend in some like
We'll
subtle
bring we'll bring
act
in more. Yeah. We'll bring in more
cost,
actors.
costumes.
Yeah,
See,
that's what I was hoping was like wig changes and hat changes, maybe glasses. You turn
yeah.
around and be a different person.
Could have
We
done
wanted
that.
to take the temperature of the room first and
Right. Well, Phoebe and I, we're up for anything. Phoebe's done a live with me once where I changed 4 times in it. So, yeah, I was trying to show the difference between going to market in Atlanta to Dallas to Vegas to
Mm,
So I did a costume change where I
those
did,
are, yep.
yeah,
And a
I
background
challenged
change
you.
every outfit.
It was a lot. I got really sweaty. Yeah, so that's your challenge for next time when you guys come back.
I don't know how
Deal.
my office would feel about me changing in the back room, but
We can count on Corey. I
take
feel
a
like
layer
Corey's the
off.
one.
Yeah, no, I'm here for this.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Well, thanks guys so much. I will share
Yeah,
the
thank
recording
you.
with you. This will be
Amazing.
stored in our wholesale directory. And then too, we'll share your contact information. And then, like we like to say to everybody, is that we hope to see you at Summit. I feel like you guys would be great candidates for that because I think the one-on-one consultation, that's what I tell a lot of our wholesalers, is being able to meet with customers in person, to talk to other resources. A lot of times our vendors are in booths next to our service providers and they strike up a conversation that leads to something that leads to something. So we would love to have you guys there, either as attendees or exhibitors. And of course, you're welcome back to Dallas anytime you guys want to come. You were a lot of fun. So thank
Great,
you.
Thank you.
great host.
Yes, awesome. All right. Well, we'll see you guys on Zoom and then Phoebe and I always say, see you at Summit.
All right.
Bye.
See you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.